everybody and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, it is that time again. I am doing my top 24 books of 2024. Obviously last year I did my top 23 books of 2023, so I thought I would do this again this year. And yeah, let's get on to it. So at this point in time, it's currently the 14th of December and I have read I think 73 books so far this year, and so that meant picking 24 books from that list was very hard because I've read a lot of good books this year and I want to be able to include all of them, but I can't. So yeah, these are my top 24 books of the year, so let's get on to it. So the first two books I'm going to mention are ones that I read towards the start of this year. I really got into fantasy this year, and that is because of this series. I hadn't read a lot of fantasy before this year. I was mainly a romance girl. I still am a romance girl, because you'll realise a lot of the books in this stack are romance books, but there's a good few fantasy mixed in there now. But this series really got me started on my fantasy journey. Thank you, Em, for forcing me to read the first book. But the first two books of my 24 top books of 2024 are A Court of Wings and Ruin and A Court of Silver Flames, both by Sarah J Maas. This is the third and technically the fourth book in the ACOTAR series, and when I tell you that I devoured this series so quickly, I read the first book in January of this year and I think I was done with this series by I think May or April or May. So I read this pretty quickly for me. I know that's probably a bit slow for some other people because it isn't a long series, but these books are chunky, okay? These are very thick books. But I absolutely adore this series. I love all of the characters. I love Rhys, I love Feyre, I love Asriel, Cassian, Nesta, Mor, Amren, all of them. I adore them so much, and I really fell in love with fantasy because of this series. I gave both of these a 5-star. I think I gave most of the books in that series a 5-star. The only ones I didn't was A Court of Thorns and Roses. I did originally when I first read it, but after reading the rest of the series I lowered my rating down to a 4-star. And I gave A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the little novella between this one and this one, I think I gave that like a 3.5 stars just because I liked it, but it wasn't like amazing. But I gave both of these 5 stars. They're absolutely phenomenal books, and I just adore this series and I can't wait for it to be continued because I know there is going to be more books. But you know, I love these with my entire being, and I literally have an entire ACOTAR shelf because this series quite literally just made me fall in love with it. So that is the first two. So the way I'm going to do this is the first 19 that I mention are just going to be like my favourites, and then I have a top 5 pile which I have here to the side. But yeah, no, let's carry on. So the next ones are ones from a new favourite author from this year actually, because I'd never read this author before, and that is Elle Kennedy, and with her Off Campus and Briar U series. So I've read the first 4 books in the Off Campus series, and I've read the first 2 in the Briar U series. And these 3 are the ones I've read have been my favourite so far. So we have The Mistake, which is book 2 in the Off Campus series, and The Score, which is book 3. And then we have The Chase, which is the first book in the Briar U series. And I genuinely just had the best time with these books. Like when I first originally read the Score, well no, that's The Mistake, the wrong one. The Score, here we go. I had the wrong way in my hands. I did not enjoy this at the start, but after finishing reading it, I realised that I absolutely adored it. And I think the reason I didn't like it so much at the start is because I was in a bit of a slump when I was trying to read this, and that probably skewed my opinion on it. But I love this couple so much. I love their banter and everything about them. And yeah, no, I just love these 3 books. They're so good. And I just love this series because it's honestly, like, I just love Elle Kennedy's writing. It's so easy to get lost in her books because they're so easy and fun to read. So these are the next 3 on my list. Again, all 5-star reads for me. And honestly, all of the books in this video are, I think, 5-star reads, maybe apart from a couple of them. But that doesn't stop them from being like my top books of the year. But yeah, that is the next few. So the 6th book on this list is Nightbane by Alex Aster. So we're going back to fantasy now. I adore this book so much. This is the 2nd book in the Lightlark series. I do currently now own the 3rd book in this series, and I can't wait to read it. But yeah, no, I've read both the books in this series this year, but I do have to say I definitely prefer Nightbane to Lightlark. But I think that's honestly common with fantasy series, because the 1st book in the series is normally setting you up for the world, so it's a lot of more world building and it's a lot less action and things like that. But I read this so quickly. I absolutely adored it. I love the characters in this series. I just love everything about it. And I really cannot wait to read Skyshade, and I'm so excited that there's going to be 2 extra books in this series, as well as the 3 that are already out. But yeah, no, I had the best time reading this. Lex recommended me this series, and I'm so glad she did, because I just absolutely adore it, and I just love the world and the characters and everything about it. I know a lot of people don't really like this series, but I personally think it's incredible. Okay, the next 4 are all part of the same series, which is why I'm going to do all these 4 all together. And that is the last 4 books in the Chestnut Springs series. I read this entire series very, very recently. I finished it, I think, this month actually. Yeah, I finished reading Hopeless at the start of this month. And I'm going to do a full in-depth video of my thoughts and feelings on this series, just because I'm that obsessed with it. But, you know, I'm in love with this series and the characters and the couples. I love the Chestnut Springs series with my entire being. And the only reason I didn't include Flawless in this is because that book is my least favourite in the series, and I obviously only had 24 books that I could put on this list. But I absolutely adored all of these ones. So, like, the ratings I gave them, I gave Heartless a 5-star, I gave Powerless a 4.75, and I gave Reckless and Hopeless a 5-star. So, as you can tell, I absolutely loved the majority of this series. I think the one that got the lowest rating was Flawless, which I gave like a 4.25. But I love these couples. I love their storylines. I love the plots. I just love everything about them, and I love Elsie Silver's writing. And since reading the series, I have gone out and bought every single book that she's published, basically. Well, all the ones I know of anyway. So I bought her Gold Rush Ranch series and her newest series, which has like Wild Love and Wild Eyes in. I need to get the last book in the Gold Rush Ranch series, which I'm probably going to get in the new year. But yeah, no, I'm just a very happy bunny with these books, because they just make me feel so happy and they bring me life. But I just love these couples. Honestly, unpopular opinion, this one's my favourite. I know this is honestly a lot of people's least favourites, but this is my favourite book in the series. So yeah, but no, I absolutely adore this series, and it's so amazing, and yeah. So the book that we have next is one that I read for a video on my channel actually, and that was reading my friend's favourite books, and that was Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I devoured this book. This book was recommended to me by M to read, and I love it. And I love it so much. It's so good. This book made me want to cry. It's incredible. I want to reread it just because I loved it so much. I've had this book for so long. I think I pre-ordered this when it was coming out because I saw the cover and I was like, ooh, pretty cover, because I like the cover of this book. But then I got told to read it. And I'm mad at myself for waiting so long to read this book. It's honestly so amazing. I know a lot of people don't like Colleen Hoover, and that's fine. I just personally have read quite a few of her books, and I've enjoyed every single one that I have read so far. The only one I've DNF'd is Confess, but I'm thinking of rebuying that book because I was reading that during a reading slump, and I think that's why I didn't like it. But yeah, no, I love this. I love this book so much, and I'm so glad I read it. And another book that is in my top books by the same author is Heartbones. This one was recommended to me by Geordie to read, and I understand why she loves this book so much. Heartbones was just, it was so sad, but it was also so amazing. and I absolutely had the best time when reading this. Well, not the best time, it's a sad book, but you know what I mean. I enjoyed the book, and I had a really good time with it. I love the characters, and I loved the story, and I generally just really enjoy Colleen Hoover's writing. I just think it's really fun. So yeah, I generally really liked this book, and I think it was really good. And I also love this cover. Like, I know a lot of people don't like this cover. I do prefer the old cover that they used to have, which was the white cover, but I do quite like the hardback edition of this because I think it's really pretty. So yeah. Okay, moving back on to fantasy, we have Queen of Shadows by Sarah J Maas. This is the fourth book in the Throne of Glass series. There's just certain scenes in this book that I can't stop thinking about ever since I read it. There is another book from this series that is in this video, but that is in my top 5, so I'll be talking about that one later. But there's a certain thing that Celaena does in this book that avenges something that's from the book in my top ones, and it just, yeah. That's all I can say. This book was incredible, and I love it. And I need to carry on reading the series. I'm currently in the middle of doing the tandem read, but, you know, I've softy and effed it for right now because my brain is too tired. As you can tell, I am very tired because I can barely keep my eyes open. But yeah, amazing book. Love it. Love this series, and I can't wait to finish it because I've just got 3 more books left, but they're the thickest books in the series. The next 2 are ones that are a part of the series, and that is Icebreaker and Daydream by Hannah Grace. This is the first and third book in the Maple Hill series. I read this entire series this year, and I absolutely adored it. I gave these 2 a 5-star each, but I gave the second book in the series, Wildfire, a 4.25, which is why it's not included in my favourites. But these 2 books, I love the couples, I love the characters, and I've had the best time with reading them. I read both of these so fast. I think I read both of these in like a day or so when I was reading them. I know I read this in a few hours because I read this during a 24-hour readathon. But I think Icebreaker just took me like a day, and I love the characters, and I love the couples, and I love the banter between them. And I just think there's just something about these stories that make me happy. Like, when I read this book, I was like, this is literally the least toxic couple I've ever read. Like, they obviously had their issues, but they actually spoke about them like adults, and I was so happy with it. But yeah, no, so incredible. Okay, yeah, so we have 3 more before I get down to my top 5. So up next we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is the first book in the Powerless trilogy, and this book broke me. It broke me. I did the tandem read of this with Powerful, and spoiler alert, Powerful is in my top 5. This book broke me. I want to cry even just thinking about the thing in this book that broke me. And I'm really looking forward to reading the next book in the series, but I'm also scared. Because if this one broke me down and made me cry, and I had a shit time with it, but I also had a great time with it because this series is amazing. But yeah. Devastation at the hands of Lauren Roberts. You know. Speaking of devastation, if you've read this series, you know what happens. You know everything that happens in this book, and this book broke my little heart. And it was really hard because I put another book in this series in my top 5, and it was really hard to decide between that one and this one. But the other one holds my heart more than this one. But I still adore this book with every fibre of my being, and I am so sad that I am close to being done with this series. Well, not done, because there's more books coming out in the series, but I'm almost done with the ones that are actually currently published. But yeah, there's something about what Chloe Walsh puts in her writing, because I love her books. Like, all the books in this series are really big books, and I have read them really quickly. I read most of the series this year, and I'm kind of hoping I can finish the last one in the series this year as well, if I'm being completely honest. Well, it's not the last one, but it's the last one that's published. But yeah, also, Joey Lynch, the man that you are. The man that you are. Anyway. And then for my last one, before my top 5 of the year, we have Caught Up by Liz Tomforde. Now, I've spoken about this series on my channel many times because this series has become an obsession of mine, and I think it's honestly my favourite sports romance series. I read this entire series in like a month or so. I think I did read the entire series in just over a month. And I adore them. I adore them. I love the characters. I love the couples. This book, Kai and Miller and little baby Max, I love them so much. They're so amazing and incredible, and I want to reread this series so much, but I need to hold myself back because I only read it recently. But yeah, new comfort series, new comfort characters, and I'm just only slightly obsessed. As I was editing this video, I realised that I forgot that I only did 18 books before I got to my top 5, and that does not make 24. So book number 19 before I go on to my top 5 was The Crimson Moth by Kristen Ciccarelli, I think her name is. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, okay? It's either Ciccarelli or Cicerelli or something like that. But I absolutely love this book. I gave it a 5-star. It's absolutely incredible. I love the characters. I love the world. I thought the magic system was really amazing and it was really unique, and I've never read a magic system like that before. And it was honestly just such an incredible book. I love The Crimson Moth so much. I think the reason I forgot to mention it is because I don't have a physical copy of it yet. I do want to buy a physical copy, but I haven't had a chance to yet, so I'm probably going to buy that in the new year because I want the trophy for my shelves. But yes, no, that is book number 19, and now going back to past Natalie, who will do her top 5. Okay, so now it's on to my top 5 books of the year. Now, these ones do have an order. The rest of them did not have an order. They were just my top books of the year. These ones are my top 5. And yeah, so let's get on to them. So in 5th place, we have Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This book had me blubbering like a baby. I would recommend anyone who wants to read Powerless and Powerful, I would definitely recommend doing the tandem read, because I think the tandem read is honestly the best way to read it in my personal opinion. Just because I think it hits more deeply with the scene that happens at the end of this book. And it kind of breaks your little heart a bit more, I think. I don't know if it still breaks your heart the other way. I think it does, because Lex didn't read the tandem read version, and when she was reading this one on call, she was quite literally in full-blown tears. So, you know, yeah. But yeah, no, I adore this book, and that is why it's in my top 5, because it's just so good, and I love the characters in this book. Even though my heart is broken after reading it. In 4th place, we have honestly, like, the 2 books that I've mentioned from this series in this video are tied for being my number 1. But we have The Right Move by Liz Tomforde. This is the 2nd book in the Windy City series. And Ryan Shea, the man that you are. Ultimate book boyfriend. He is amazing. He is incredible, and I adore him with my entire being. And Ryan Shea is the best book boyfriend out there. But yeah, I will die on that hill. I love him so much. I love this book so much. I love Ryan and Indy with my entire being. And I think that everyone needs to read this series, especially for this book. And also Caught Up, but you know, this book. Yeah. I'm obsessed. Speaking of being obsessed, we have The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas. This is book number 3 in my top 5, and I just heartbreak, tears. I did not expect to cry at this book, but I did. My personal opinion, if you're going to read the Throne of Glass series, read this one first. Just because I feel like this book perfectly sets you up for the rest of the series. I know other people have different opinions, that's fine. You read whatever order you want. I personally just recommend, if you're going to read this series, read The Assassin's Blade first, because it's the best order in my opinion. Because once you read this, you understand all the little Easter eggs that you get in the next few books relating to a character that's in this book. And yeah, heartbreak is one thing, my ego's another. I beg you, don't embarrass me, motherfucker. Anyway. Oh, Jesus. But yeah, no, amazing book. Absolutely love it. That is why it's one of my top 5. And I love this book, and I'm so glad I read this one first, because it's amazing. Now, for the last 2, it was very hard for me to pick between these 2 of my top book of the year, but every time I look back on the one that I did pick for number 1, I realise why it is my number 1 book of the year. But in second place we have Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. This is the second book in the Boys of Tommen series, and I read this book in a day. I absolutely adore this book. It was so good. I love the characters. Johnny and Shannon are just my favourite couple in this series. I just love them so much, and I just really, really adored this book. I just love their story and everything about them, and just everything that happens in this book. Even though it's heartbreaking, it's so amazing because of all the other things that happen. And yeah, Keeping 13 is honestly my favourite in the Boys of Tommen series so far. Which it's very quickly followed up by Redeeming 6, because those 2 are on the same timeline, and they're very close together in my love for them. But Keeping is honestly just my favourite, and I love it so much, and I just love everything about Johnny and Shannon, and that is why this is number 2 in my top 5. But my number 1 book of 2024 is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I read this book in around about 6 hours. Actually, no, less than that. I think around about 4 hours. I read this entire book in 4 hours. One night when I could not sleep, I just was sat there listening to the audiobook and reading it on my Kindle, and I read this book in 4 hours. And there is just something about Bo and Win that brings me so much joy and happiness. This book is incredible. The writing is amazing. The banter between these 2 is impeccable. It has incredible disability representation. It has one of my favourite tropes, which is the accidental pregnancy trope. And yeah, everything about this book just brings me so much joy. I absolutely love it, and I need more people to read this. I actually bought a copy of this for my friend Em, just because we both love the accidental pregnancy trope. And when I was reading this the entire time, all I could think is Em would love this book. Em would love this book. So I obviously bought her a copy one day when she was feeling sad. But yeah, no, just everything about this book makes me feel so much joy, and I just want to reread it. I love it that much that I have bought 3 different editions of this. So I have the audiobook, I have the Kindle edition, and I have the paperback. So, do with that what you will. But yeah, no, this is my top book of 2024. I just absolutely love this book with every fibre of my being, and I just think everyone should read it. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment and subscribe and hit that little notification bell so you know when I upload. I upload every Friday at 6 p.m. on a normal schedule, but at the moment I am doing Bookmas, so I am uploading every 2 days between the 2nd of December and the 24th of December. And I think this video is going up on the 16th of December, so you know it's halfway through Bookmas for me anyway already, but that is fine. I hope you guys enjoyed and I will catch you next time.